Our lesson for today, and I wasn't quite prepared for projection, so I will just go over it here. You take clear notes, is on, we are going to be talking about anxiety and stress. It's one of the subjects that seems to be very contemporary in society today. I don't have something to write on, but you can write this picture. So I want you to go in the middle of your page, whatever notebook you're using, and draw yourself at the center. You know, look for the diagonal right at the center of the page and draw yourself. That's assignment number one. By now you should have finished. Either you have not drawn yourself. Janet, I can't see you drawing yourself. Huyo preacher naona wewe unajichora. Yes, draw yourself. I will not check how you think you look, but the way you draw yourself is the way you look, according to yourself. Then, on inside you, I want you to write internal sources of stress. Inside yourself. Now, outside, on view, I want you, above you, I want you to write external sources of stress. And below you, where your feet are, I want you to draw circumstantial sources of stress. Everybody is with us? No? Okay, draw yourself. Inside you, draw internal sources of stress. Above you, draw external sources of stress. Below you, write what? Circumstantial or circumstances that cause stress. If you have not done it by now, copy from your neighbor. You are allowed to copy. It's not an exam. You can be able to check. You can do it, but I have got 3 things that I want you to see. I want you to see external sources of stress coming to you. I want you to see internal sources of stress coming from within you. And I want you to see circumstantial sources of stress coming from underneath you or on the path that you follow. Now, if we were to define stress, one word to just define stress, I would use the word pressure. Pressure. So it's a weight. You can draw a big beam above everything you have drawn, and as if it is falling on you, and label it pressure. Inaanguangukia. Now, your pressure can be internal, in your mind. You are thinking, this house might collapse. What does that give you? Pressure, isn't it? If you truly believed it, I would see you beginning to walk up. And I try to persuade you to come back to this house, and you say, I don't know, it might collapse. Or you might say, this wire here, you know, there's electricity that is built in. There could be contact with electricity. Will you touch it? You are afraid. So that pressure is coming from inside you as a result of the way you interpret your circumstances, or you interpret the things that you are seeing. And a lot of people go through internal emotions that make them sick. I don't know whether you know that your body reacts when you are under pressure internally. If you think too hard, what do you develop? What do you develop? You can develop high blood pressure as a result of your thinking. Just thinking, what will I eat? What will I drink? The Bible says, don't worry about them. But do you listen? Of course not. So you think, what will I drink? What will I eat? And your body begins to generate, the blood pressure levels begin to go up. And they can cause a whole lot of other sicknesses like diabetes and others. Because the body is responding to what is happening inside. When the Bible says that He still waters, that is peace. It's the equilibrium that your mind needs to be in for you to enjoy. When the Bible says He giveth His righteous sleep. No. You can be able to sleep without being bothered by the thoughts that wake you up. Because you can trust that he will be a shepherd. So the solution to the pressure that happens inside a person can only be from a state of mind that has been stilled by the confidence that you have. Now, that confidence could be in your abilities. I know how to work. I will work for my living. I will not be bothered. My husband has died, but I have skills. I can work. Unaona? Or I will trust the Lord, and the Lord will provide for me because he says he's the husband to the widows. Isn't it? Or I have a brother that will stand with me, and he has a load of cash around him. I will trust him. Now, I can tell you that trusting in men and human beings gets disappointed. Trusting in yourself also gets disappointed eventually. It's good to gain skills. It's good to have backup. It's good to have cash in the bank. It's good to have all those things. But ultimately, question is, do you have an unshakable source of being taken care of by somebody who cannot let you down? The journey that we walk, the greatest journey and the greatest lesson you can be is actually that of stand still and know that I am God. That's God says. So what are you doing at that particular moment? Are you working very hard, or you are just waiting upon him? They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. To do what? To meet the circumstances that they have to deal with. They that wait. You see that God is constantly pushing us to the point where we can actually totally depend on him instead of depending on ourselves. I can only say that to you if you are a Christian, or if you want to follow the Christian way. Now, if you want temporary solutions, they are okay and they are good, because I think it's good to learn that God also gives us the capacity to do skills. He says, do you see a skilled man? Do you see a skilled man? The answer? Show me one. And here's what the Bible says. He will stand before kings. He will not have small men. So skills are good, and you should pursue them, because instead of you constantly having to fear and to worry about whether you can perform, you will know that you can actually do it. Skills are good. Diligence is good. The Bible says if you cannot be trusted with somebody else's goods, how will you be entrusted to take care of yours? So you need to be diligent. You need to be trustworthy. You will not have stress. Do you know a thief? No, let me use a liar. It's a much more applicable one for this minute. If whenever I meet my brother there, ananiuliza, where do you live? And I think he might be coming to steal from me. Namwambia I live in Meru. Then I meet him next week. And he asked me, by the way, you told me where you live and I can't remember. Do you know I also have to try and remember where I live? Yeah? Because it was not the truth. When you lie, you have to constantly keep track of what you tried, what you said, in order for you not to be found out. Isn't it? Yes. But if I tell him I live in a village called Thumaita next to a tea factory, do I need to remember it? No. It's the truth. Next time you wake me up, where do you live? I live in Thumaita, in a place near the tea factory. I don't have to keep track of it. The mental stress of having to keep track of your lies in order for you not to be found out can kill you. Especially the guys who have to lie to like 2 or 3 women. Unaona? Huyu anajua niko na Mercedes Benz. So every time I go there, I have to go rent a Mercedes Benz. Nikuje nayo. And he said, how come that it is the same, it's not the same number as the one you had before? You know, I have so much money. Me, I change cars like houses. I change cars like shoes. Unaona? Unakuwa muongo, and people get to know it, and they talk about you themselves. You know, I did not know that, especially girls really know how to gossip about men. Now, many men think that they are the only ones who talk about girls. Me, I discovered that girls talk about us in my 50s. when I was invited by a girl who we grew up together, and she took me to a meeting to go and address a group. So we went together, and she was now introducing me. And she says, the brother I'm introducing to you is called Haron Washira. We grew up together, we brought up our children together, and we have known each other since before we got married. Here's what I would like to tell you about Haron Washira. When we were in our early 20s, all of us girls were busy talking about him, and he did not know. So why? Because when the other boys were busy taking us out for coffee and for fun and for tours, the guy was just glued to his own computer. And we were saying, what sort of fellow is this? The only thing he thinks about is computer. And they used to think that the computer is my girlfriend. So that's what they were gossiping me about. But she was introducing me. The reason I'm introducing him to you, they were younger people, is because later on in life we discovered that computers was the biggest thing. Because when all these other fun with the other boys eased, he himself was taken ahead by computers. So who was ahead, me or them? Me, eh? But she only discovered many years later, but in those days they were gossiping about me. And I did not know. And I did not need to know. Because I was just living my life. It's just my life. I have been with computers since I was 19 years old. Every generation of computer that has ever come, I have had it. I sold everything that I could get. My first loan was to be able to buy a computer. So that was my life. But the point is, if you have a fake life, it will cause you stress. Stress will cause the linings of your stomach to be eaten up. Do you know that? The disease is called ulcers. Sidio? Or too much acid in the body. It's generated by stress, internal stress. So the first thing for you is to know, how do I deal with internal stress? And you deal with internal stress by developing good skills, so that you can be able to cope with the circumstances that come, by trusting God, so that you can be knowing that whatever circumstances come, whatever happens around me, God is in charge, by being faithful and by being honest and living yourself, being content. Yeah? You don't have to be discontent with who you are and not loving the things you see, but having the ability to appreciate that which is real and which is genuine and which will last beyond the years that you have now. If you know, men look at many things and they like a woman. In my 60s now, I am amazed about how we change. Because when I look around a room of our friends, I remember how each of those people looked in their 20s. And do they change? Sidio, do they change? Now, if you loved somebody because of the way they had very nice hair, what will happen when that hair turns gray? Who will be affected, them or you? Ni wewe, see me, my wife, I loved her for many other things, but I can tell you, and if she was here, I would still tell you, is that she had the most beautiful hair I had ever seen with anybody. In those days, afros were a big thing. And she used to comb her afro and it would look like a wig. Yeah? And admired greatly. She teaches Sunday school, she teaches the other women. She's okay. That quality of teaching, that quality of loving, she's the one who reminds me when we have got somebody we have committed to support and I have not done it, etc. Those are the qualities that I saw. And up to today, they have just become better. Are you with me? So internally, you need to be ring-fenced against the stress by being organized in such a way that you are not depending on the things that come into you to stress you. You have got robust capacity to withstand pressure. Are you with me? Now, external sources can be many. Like yesterday, I was being told by somebody who sells clothes. His wife sells clothes. na ananiambia when she gets a new set of clothes for women, she makes sure that she divides them by how they will be perceived in a particular area. Kama anamuzia hapa, and you normally see each other. If there are two dresses that are alike, she removes one. And sells that one in Kirinyaga. Because Janet allowed me to use you. Janet amenunua dress, looks very nice, and she is wearing it. Anakutana na mtu mwingine kwa hii room wamevaa the same dress. Stress ama mambo baya? Unaona? Men, we don't care. Men, we don't care. If find somebody with the same shirt, that's hey, we have the same shirt. Great, But women is stress. So, big stress. Now that's an external source of stress. That should not be causing you any stress. There are others. You find that family bought a new car. Now yours is a KB, kama yangu, KBL. And this one is a KD. Now you go home and you begin to stress your husband. You know, kwani pesa yako inaendanga wapi? Sisi tunaachwa tu na hao wengine, kwani wanadhukuma pesa mingi kuliko sisi? External sources of stress. Or school fees has been demanded by the 20th and you don't have it. That's an external. Those external sources of stress become something that affect you if you do not know how to respond to them. One, contentment also plays a very big role in handling them. Number two, having the buffer that enables you to respond to those external sources of stress. For example, a group that you can trust. I would like to give you an example. Personally, when I was in my 20s, I had the greatest, because I had not dealt with girls. I did not know how to deal with a girl. It was a major fear for me. And now I'm in my 20s. We are being attracted to these guys. I am my computer. I know how to deal with it. But then I meet this, hey, how are you, etc. I did not know how to deal with girls. It was a big problem for me. What solved that problem for me? A lady called Mrs. Gladys Mwiti. She was married to an older man, but she herself, today she's called Dr. Mwiti, and she's a psychologist. And you probably know her. They own a university. They train with her husband, girls from Mwiti, etc. Now Gladys took about 10 of us boys and coached us on how to deal with girls, etc. Yeah, we had lessons. What to say, what not to say, how to give a compliment, the things that girls will like, where to take them, how to deal with them. And she gave me one of the greatest pieces of advice. He says, don't start meeting any girl in private, alone, until you marry her. No, until you marry her. Meet them, organize for them into groups. I had a house that was on a compound. I've always lived in a nice house. I made up a commitment to be living in a nice house. And the house I was living in as a bachelor had nearly half an acre. It was rural, far away from Nairobi, so that I can get it cheaply. But it had a half an acre of compound. Big. It was very, very, very big. So I used to organize these parties where I would invite all my friends to come with girls, huko. Tunakuja hapo, and we had baseballs, table tennis, we had this frisbees, what, etc., and we would spend the whole day playing. Then we would go with them to missions. We would go preach the gospel to schools, and we used to observe them, the girls, and find out how does that one behave. Can that one teach Sunday school? Is this one caring? Does she serve when we are being served with food? When we go to somebody's home with feeding us? When the others are washing dishes, does she stay in the sitting room and wait? Unachagua huyo, wachana na huyo. So, did we get to know about girls or not? We did. And you know, those marriages, about the group that we were in, all those marriages have survived, most of them, because they were based on the right foundation. Then in our 30s, as we were bringing up the children together, we created a family fellowship where all our children and ourselves would meet on a regular basis. So you have a stress. And we used to talk about trouble. You know, can we talk about the kind of troubles that we are facing? And we would put them out there in the open. And other people would give suggestions. The older couples would give us suggestions. So we were able to go through that period of time. And then in our 40s, we formed ourselves into investment clubs. So we began to invest, weka pesa kwa mashamba, plots, what, invest, etc. So that in our retirement we have got cash. We don't have to stress. But we grew together and helped each other. We were in every word our brother's keepers. Are you with me? So you can position yourself amongst other people that are like-minded with you so that you can be ring-fenced from the external pressure that comes from outside as a result of you not knowing how to deal with it, as a result of your inexperience. Somebody else told me, make friends with older people because they will have seen everything that you come across. And I found about 3 men that I made my greatest friends. And for each one of them, I had something I used to do for them. Like there was one man called Dr. Samuel Gatere, he spoke so well, but he could not write. So I offered to be writing for him. Could listen to his tips, then I write them down. I help him to write something that can be read, proofread it. I give him a finished reading article that can be published. And he was so happy. Do you know what he gave me in exchange? Just advice. So Dr. Gatere is the one time I told him, Dr. Gatere, I'd like to tell you that I have a friend. He says, what are you going to do with your friend? He says, I think I'm going to marry her. He says, and she's your friend? And I said, yes. How long have you known her? I told you now about 1.5 years. And he told me, shame on you. He says, shame on you. How can you tell me that you have a friend you have not known for 1.5 years? A friendship takes 7 years to start growing. 7 years. So I said, so what is she? I don't know, you can call her whatever you want. You can call her your lover, you can call whatever, but she's not your friend. Do you understand me? I said, no, I don't. So I said, so should I not marry her? He said, no, go ahead and marry her. But you're not marrying a friend, you're marrying a lover. After you get married, start making her your friend. And he gave me the principles for how to grow a friendship. Do you know that's the greatest advice I've ever gotten from anybody? You think I could have gotten that advice from my age mate? Do you think? No. So the advice, make friends who are older than you, who know more than you, is a good solid. But I think you're getting the principle is that surround yourself with the circumstances and the people and the like-minded persons that can become for you a source of social support network that will keep you away from stress. Then below you, we say this what? We said internally, you have got internal stress. From above you, you have external stress. From below, circumstantial. As you walk the journey's path, circumstances change and they can bring about stress. You need to train yourself not to be dependent on circumstances or to allow them to be the ones that determine your state of mind. Circumstances will come, they will go. Circumstances will change, life will continue. You may, a few years ago, we met with some friends of ours and we shocked to find he's guiding his wife because she was blind. When they were getting married, they were not blind. Should he be stressed because she became blind? No, she was not like that. Circumstances have changed. She's now blind. Life continues. You accept life as it goes on. Many people can get very stressed if, for example, they are in a job and they lose a job. Go learn something else. So here's what I personally do. This is me. I make it my goal to have my agenda that is not dependent on the circumstances that I am in. For example, I have an agenda of learning a new skill every year. I make it my goal to pick on a big skill of something I am going to learn every year. It has been programming, has been writing, it has been techniques of growing things. This year, I can actually tell you that these years I've given myself 2 skills to learn. Propagative methods of growing things fast. How to grow things fast. So I've been experimenting with almost all trees. Like I take a cutting of that tree, I go put it in rooting hormone, I go plant it in a small greenhouse, I cover it, and then I watch what happens in 21 days. You know what I have discovered? Some of the rarest trees to find. Like in Kenya, there is a very, very, very big shortage of camphor wood. The camphor trees, for those of you who know in the forest, because the value of the wood is so high, the timber, that it's all been cut in. In my area, you have to walk in like 30 kilometers inside the forest to find the first camphor tree, Ukodani. But why isn't it regrown? Because they say the seeds don't germinate easily. They take a long time. I have, as we speak, 2,000 camphor trees that have grown in the last 3 months using that propagated method. Unaelewa? Do you think they are worth a little? They are worth a lot of money. But I have taught myself to do that. I've taught myself to grow avocado that way. I've taught myself to do, now we are experimenting with macadamia. You see, I'm learning. And then I'm investing some little money in building up a tissue culture lab because I would like to multiply seeds. A tiny, small one, but to multiply from the leaves. So getting new skills can be a way of helping you to ride the waves that come. The other thing that you do to be able to deal with circumstances is to compare notes with other people who have gone through similar circumstances. Yeah, you faced the death of a loved one. How did you handle it? And if you yourself are helping somebody who is in that state, also make it possible for you to have the skills to be able to help the other people. So circumstances are dealt with by you developing your own capacity to handle, or you being able to get help from somebody who has been able to deal with such circumstances, and we have those people all around us. Or the third thing is having the kind of typical buffers that help in managing the circumstantial change. Most people get affected by money, lack of money, school fees. They get affected by disease, an occurrence that comes over. You know, take care of those things in advance. I think we all get an insurance cover for medical benefits here. Yeah? Do you know that to top up that medical cover so that you can get covered for bigger illnesses and bigger limits is very insignificant? Yeah? Like me, I take the cover we get from Britam. This year, I topped it up to cover the things that I would like to see covered that are not covered there. So that if anything happens that's related to disease, you know you are taken care of. Tuko pamoja? When it comes to savings, if you save a little money every single time, you will be able to create a buffer of cash that you can draw into instead of trying to fundraise every time that you have an illness or you have a need for school fees. If you invest, I was telling the ones who are in the car with us today, when we were coming, that the opportunities that I find in Africa as a result of the fluctuations of grain prices is huge. Yeah? Like what is the price of dengue now? 100. What is the price during harvest?
It was up to 190.
And when is it lowest?
It's now.
Now. So right now it's now. But a few years ago, during harvest, dengue was 60. During the high season, when there was no dengue, it would be 120. So me, I buy grain, and I recommend to any person that establish the price of the grain during harvest, buy kidogo, unajiwekea. When the price changes, sell. So you don't have to run a shop, you don't have to go to the market. Rice, maize, dengue, beans, what, etc. Just buy during harvest, sell when the next harvest is just about to come around. And you find that you will compound your investment and they begin to grow cash. Yeah? There was a time when I was busy buying female cows, tiny female cows, then I would bring them up Now, my cows are enough that in any 1 year to produce enough cows for me to have adequate. Now I no longer have to buy them from outside. Like this last year, I had the females that were born, becomes the next generation of my cows. So next year I could sell some cows. Unaelewa? So I have an investment routine, I have a savings routine, you have a health cover that you normally have, you have skills that you can depend on, you have got some activities you are doing that generate more income for you, so that when circumstances change, you're prepared for them. But with all of that said, learning never to trust any of those methods, but to put your faith and trust in the Lord and wait upon Him and know Him and just depend on Him. I'd like to stop there. I can see they are setting up the tea, but I would like to stop so we can take 1 or 2 questions. Thank you.